All right, I'm going to lean it on my team in the back to go do some cat herding. Push them back in the room. We've got two important topics that we want to cover this afternoon, and I want to be respectful of your all's time, as a good project manager would be. So, as mentioned earlier, project delivery is really built upon those 6 core elements: the framework or the process, scope, schedule, budget, quality, and risk. 2 of those critical components are risk and quality, and they play an important role in controlling project costs, maintaining the project scope, completing the project on time, and improving customer confidence. Let me go here. All right. So, is this in order? There we go. So managing risk is important because it allows the team to identify or anticipate potential problems before they actually occur. Unmanaged risks, as you heard earlier, can easily prevent a project from achieving its objectives or even cause it to fail. For these reasons, risk management is required for all projects. No task, deliverable, or assignment is too small to proactively manage risk. That's because the process and the tools that we've developed are scalable and can be applied to every project and deliverable. Another thing that we shared earlier today is it's everybody's responsibility to assist in managing risk. Don't assume the project manager knows everything. We heard that from Jennifer. We need to lean on our technical disciplines to bring issues and concerns up and have a conversation with the team. Managing risk it also increases the probability of obtaining higher quality results, which brings us to the quality management program. Quality is a direct reflection on how well our customers' expectations are met, both in the services as well as the products that are delivered to them. A new quality management process is coming out soon. It's currently being reviewed by leadership as well as FHWA. One of the major shifts for emphasis is that quality control is going to formally be shifted to our industry partners. Formally, in documented fashion. This will free up NCDOT staff to focus on higher level initiatives, reviews, and ensure multidiscipline cross-collaboration is occurring on these products. This process will also help us provide consistency across the state, which in turn will help us to deliver high-quality projects more reliably. Today, I'm proud to have some speakers here with me. I call them partners, actually. First off, we're going to have Wanda, Division Engineer from Division 14, who will be discussing the benefits of managing risks on projects. Following her is Alyson Tamer, who is the State Value Management Engineer, who will describe the risk resources for teams to use when they are managing risk. And we have Stephen Morgan, the State Hydraulics Engineer, who will discuss the importance of quality management. So, if you'll pull out your app and go back to the Slido app, we want to pose a question to you. We'd like to get your feedback. Which of these is a risk? A potential opportunity to reduce project costs, a potential threat that would delay the letting by 6 months, or both?
And again, if you didn't hear the earlier announcement, we are starting a different Slido session for this. So if you're still on your previous Slido, you want to make sure it says, you want to go back to slido.com and enter the code 919105, and it should say at the top of your screen starting with GS2 for General Session 2.
While everybody's doing that, I'll just take the opportunity to say, although the ice cream was good, the ice cream at Clemson University is a lot better. I just want to say that. Oh, no. Ah. All right, so we're getting there. Let's go ahead and show the results. So it's actually both. So most of y'all got that correct. So congratulations. That just went down, so I guess some people went, oh, I had the wrong answer. All right. You can go ahead and switch. Positive impacts are known as opportunities, and these are impacts that could lower the project budget, provide time savings on the project, or improve the quality. Negative impacts are known as threats. The threats are potential obstacles that may negatively impact the project, such as the cost increases or schedule delays. So risk management is a proactive process designed to minimize the potential obstacles and maximizing the ability to capitalize on the opportunities. So this we're going to read as a responsive reading. So how many Methodists do we have in the room? Okay, it's all right. If you're not Methodist, you'll catch on quickly. So the bolded words is what you say, and I'm going to say everything else. And if I don't hear you, we will do this again until I get a proper response. So the only to risk management is, and crisis management is much more. Very good. So let's think about that. So the only alternative to risk management is crisis management. So no project is perfect, right? Did anybody have a perfect year last year? Let me ask you this. Did you manage last year, or did you let last year's situation manage you? That's what this quote is saying. Risks are defined as uncertainties that, if they occur, can impact the project scope, schedule, cost, quality, and commitments. I'm going to discuss 3 projects in Division 14 that have had both opportunities and threats to the project delivery. And the ideas that I'm going to bring to you are not new, because I honestly believe that our project managers are practicing risk management on a daily basis. You just may not have realized it. For the sake of time, because my presentation originally was like an hour long, and I was told I could not speak an hour, so for the sake of time, I'm only going to focus on one risk, or one specific risk for each of the projects. The first one will be a schedule risk, then a communication risk, and then a budget risk that we had. So the I-26 widening project in Henderson County was originally a Division 14 project. Then NCDOT was sued. And so after we went through that lawsuit, it became a corridor project which spanned from both divisions, Division 13 and Division 14, from I-40 to US 25. Originally, the project was envisioned as an 8-lane, and then through the merger process, we went with a hybrid 6-8 approach. Although the team structure was certainly unique and successful, we're going to look at the schedule risk for this project. When Division 14 assumed the project management, an aggressive schedule was adopted. And although there were several risks inherent, like I said, it spanned two divisions. It crossed pristine waters of the U.S. We had the longest national park, also known as the Blue Ridge Parkway. The driving force was really that schedule. And the steps that we took to overcome the schedule risks included Division 14 staff in collaboration with Division 13 staff and Federal Highways and the design firm H&TB. So that collaboration, we were able to meet an 18-month delivery, and that was going from basically 25% plans to letting. The project team, we held weekly meetings. We also had monthly all-hands-on-deck calls. The weekly calls focused on design questions, right-of-way questions, and utility concerns. And as someone's already mentioned, we had both the DCE and the project development staff at these meetings, as well as the design firms. And we were able to get questions answered quickly and make those critical design answers there in those meetings. We also had the all-hands-on-deck meetings, monthly calls, and with those, we included other DOT units, agencies, and other stakeholders. These meetings were held to keep everybody informed of the progress and also identify any fatal flaws before they occurred. The project team met with other key stakeholders, including emergency management, Eastern Federal Lands, National Park Service, Highway Patrol, IMAP, and Carolina Village. So through these efforts, the team was able to engage the right people at the right time so that the project team didn't miss the sledding. The second project that I'm going to talk about is the oldest project in North Carolina, and it's one of the final segments of the Appalachian Development Highway System, Corridor K. It started in 1965, and then the project was restarted in 2015. The project team developed a fresh start mentality with the stakeholders. So the risk, like I said, I'm going to talk about here, is the communications. As part of the fresh start, FHWA required that NCDOT participate in a conflict resolution strategy, which consisted of a mediator from Federal Highways. Now, I'll admit, when I joined the project team, I was not thrilled about the thoughts of mediation because from firsthand experience, mediation did not work in my first marriage. The issue with the project development stalemate in the past was the lack of communication. No one was willing to move past their individual needs or interests to look at the bigger picture. And so to overcome this risk, the team identified these key stakeholders and identified their role in project delivery. So despite my pessimism, over the next 4 years, the core team, which consisted, like I said, of Federal Highways, NCDOT, Stantec, and TGS, we facilitated hundreds of meetings with the stakeholders. And each encounter was strategic so that we could build the trust and gain the consensus while working through those threats and making opportunities. So these encounters were sometimes uncomfortable for each of the project team members because they were asked to lay down their agenda and consider another viewpoint. The project team communication strategy has allowed us to go from gridlock to an expected construction delivery of fall of 2022. The once 4-lane divided concept that posed a threat is now a success into the project delivery and has turned into an opportunity. And we've met the purpose and need of the locals through this concept of a 2+1 design with 10-foot wide shoulders. And also through the collaboration with environmental stakeholders, as well as the Appalachian Trail stakeholders, we're going to be constructing the first wildlife crossing on the Appalachian Trail. And the crossing itself has been praised by many environmental stakeholder advocacy groups, and those including the Southern Environmental Law Center, Mountain True, and Wilderness Society. And in these quotes that you have here, SCLC said, DOT worked closely with stakeholders at every step, including SCLC and our partners, to solve problems and earn community support. Some of the unique features of the crossing includes a wider structure to enhance the hiker experience, fencing to direct the wildlife to the crossing, and then it'll be a 2-arch look. It's not actually 2 arches, and it's not a tunnel. Don't call it a tunnel. And the tiered walls with plantings to soften the enhanced historic nature of the trail. So looking back at this, I think the important part that I know I learned when going through this, specifically with the crossing, was, historically, like I said, we always had our blinders on of what we were going to do. And, when we stepped back, specifically me, when I stepped back and looked at and considered the other viewpoints, that's when we came to the table with this whole idea of a wildlife crossing. I mean, 20 years ago, 5 years ago, I don't think a wildlife crossing was ever in our imagination of what to do. So the final project is a project that Division 14 is administering for the city of Brevard. It's EB 5858. And it's one of 4 projects designed to relieve the transportation stress at the intersection of US 74 and 276 in Brevard, which is actually down near the bottom of the screen there. So early coordination that we had, you can see the stakeholders that we involved there, and we thought we had the right stakeholders. So the project consisted of a simple prefab pedestrian bridge over the Davison River. That's very simple, correct? What could go wrong? So it wasn't long before we realized that in this right stakeholders that we didn't have the right stakeholders. And so that turned into a major budget killer. The original estimate for the project was $400,000, and the estimate today is $1.4 million. So I won't draw attention to the project manager, but Barry has done an excellent job working hard, and now we have the right stakeholders and have the cost contained. So, how does your team manage risk? Open up your Slido app.
I like how you can see the people, like how many people have responded. I know we need music. Okay, I'm gonna give y'all a few more seconds for that, which is good because I guess okay, can we go ahead and see the results? Oh, good answer. Look, y'all have been paying attention, and I appreciate it. And even in the meeting minutes, some of y'all on the back of a napkin. Well, at least you're looking at it, right? At least you're considering risk. I don't even know what to say. Okay, we can go ahead to the... Okay, make sure. Okay. So I think most everyone has been doing some form of risk identification on their projects. I mean, we've talked about that. You guys know that risk management is important. We're understanding that you've been doing it. Some of you have been saying that. You've been putting it in your minutes or on napkins or whatever you're having in your meetings. And we should be, as Chris mentioned, risk assessment, risk management is important, and it's required on all of our projects. No matter what size of project that you have, risk management can be part of your project delivery. But risk management is not a one-time task. As the project evolves, risk also evolves. So there are a lot of people who are also going to be involved at the different stages of your project. And their level of involvement will depend on the need and the challenges of that project. During the project it's been a long day, and I've been talking so much already with the networking, I'm like losing my voice. Anyway, bear with me, please. During the project initiation phase, which is stage 1, the Division of Planning and Programming will be working with planning team members, which will consist of consultants, DOT subject matter experts, MPOs, RPOs, and local stakeholders. In stage 2 and beyond, the project manager, consultants, and DOT subject matter experts and local stakeholders will also be involved. The project teams should be discussing risk regularly at their meetings. To assist the project teams, we have developed the risk assessment worksheet, which is called the RAW. We call it yay, the raw, I know, it's lovely, to be the tool for you to be able to do risk management. So within value management, our hope and our responsibility, our goal is always to provide tools for project managers so that you can deliver your projects in a timely manner as much as you can. So this is just a tool for you to just document that risk that we already know that you've been doing. As mentioned in stage 1, risks are identified and assessed in the project initiation form and the screening checklist. This is new as part of the PDN and IPD process. Keep in mind, these forms contain key project information along with the risk information and will automatically be included in the project scoping report. The project initiation form template risk identification section is intended to be a high-level identification of what risk exists. So it is not digging down. They do not know enough about your project at that point to really pinpoint the exact risks. The screening checklist template focuses more on the details and assessment of each of the risks identified in the A9. The addition of the risk identification in these documents is new, as I already mentioned, and it will take some time to show up. So if you're working on a project that's already, in delivery, it's already been started, the chances are your PSR is not going to include any kind of risk information because they've just started that process as we've been going through IPD. So projects in the future hopefully will have this risk information as part of it. In stage 2 and beyond, the risk identified in stage 1 can be used to start building your risk assessment worksheet. Once the raw is built, it is essential that it is frequently updated and maintained to evolve as the project evolves. The intent of the raw is to capture the risk we often talk about during our meetings and other forums. The raw doesn't have to be filled out in one setting. If a risk comes up, it can be added and revisited later so that you can fill in the rest of the information for it. This creates a record of the risk discussions, which increases the transparency across the project team. It helps with team staffing turnover, and especially if that person is a project manager. You can access a blank raw. It's linked in the PDN. It's also in the project management guide, and they all go to our risk page from our value management website. Thank you to Wanda for sharing the risk assessment worksheet that they had filled out in Division 14 for their project EB 5858. I'm going to be using this worksheet to kind of work you through the pieces of the raw. So as you can see, hopefully you can see, there's 4 sections. Don't pay attention to the words or anything. We really just want to focus on the raw as a whole. But there are 4 sections that are color-coded. I'm going to go through each of those sections. You can make changes horizontally. There's also categories that you can group your risk in if you choose to. You can change those. You can add categories. You can delete lines. You can add lines. This is an Excel sheet. It's a tool for you to be able to make yours. The first section is the risk identification. When identifying risk, we recommend the use of an if-then format. This is helpful to write clear risk statements. The possible risk event or condition is the if, and the potential outcome or consequence is the then. So for example, on one of the raw that we have, if there isn't enough temporary construction easement, then the cost would increase and could delay the bridge construction because of additional coordination with USFS and other property owners. So still in the first section, once you've identified the risk, you determine if it's a threat or an opportunity, because we already talked about the risk and you guys got that. I'm so proud of y'all for nailing that question. Way to go. But yes, risk are threats and opportunities. They can be positive or negative. And so you want to go through, as you've identified those risks, you want to identify if it's a threat or if it's an opportunity. The negative risk are threats and the positive are opportunities. When you also set that status, then you set the status of the risk as you work through your project. It'll start as active, but it may change to dormant or closed out as your project progresses. The next section is the risk assessment section. Here you will identify the probability that the risk will occur and the impact if it does. Your scale, as indicated, goes from very low to very high, and the score automatically calculates for you. So if you put in whatever you put in, the very low, the high, whatever, it'll automatically give you a score, a color code that you can see to identify, what that looks like, what that means to you. It is good to identify all the risk on your project, but as a team, you can prioritize those risks as you determine your response strategy. So your options are to mitigate, avoid, transfer, accept, or enhance. If the impact and probability are low, then accepting may be a good choice. If the impact and probability are very high, then you would want to mitigate, probably. Enhance is used when you have opportunities. Obviously, you want to try to enhance those and make the most of those opportunities. After your team decides on a strategy, you set up an action plan. After the action plan is created, the team will determine the risk owner, who will be responsible for taking the action and following up with the team by the follow-up date. The risk owner does not have to be the project manager or the lead, and in most cases, it will not be. Let me say that again. In most cases, your risk owner will not be the project manager. Probably hardly ever will the risk owner be your project manager. It can be someone on the project team that's related to a specific discipline. So if it's something that's a hydro risk, then you might want to have whoever your hydro engineer is. If it's something related to construction, you may want to be bringing in your division construction engineer. So it's whoever would be part of that. But it doesn't also just have to be NCDOT employees. It can be other external personnel, consultants. It can also be stakeholders. And then you set I mentioned the follow-up date, but you would also set the follow-up date. The follow-up date is the date for the risk owner to then come back to the team with, an update on what has happened. In the management and monitoring plan section, you will determine the update frequency. So we've determined that there's going to be an update date, and then when's the frequency? How often are these updates going to occur? The risk owner will add comments at the updates. And this is a question that had come up. I've done this presentation before, and this was a question that came up, which is, this project is long, and we want this to be a living document. So every time you do an update, you have the opportunity, again, Excel sheet, to create a column for those different updates. And you can continually change your date to check back in. And continue to do that until maybe your risk is closed out or until, we're going into let and have that. The RAW is a tool for the project teams to be able to use. The categories can be moved. The unused rows, I mentioned this already, the unused rows can be deleted, new ones can be added. It is for your use. It is a tool for you. It is scalable to your project. Your team should be able to access and edit the RAW throughout the project. And we've mentioned that a bunch. I'm going to keep saying it, though, so you can get it. It can live in the project SharePoint site. We've created a place for you in our value management discipline under the risk assessment topic. However, it is a living document. So if it's not one and done. You don't just fill it out and you're done. You're going to continually come back to it for those updates. And it's not even just the updates. You may identify additional risk that you still are going to have to be adding as you continue with the project. So just know that as well. So because you're going to be continuously monitoring it and editing it and identifying and mitigating and all those things, wherever it is that you want your team to have it so that you can have access to that, it's fine. Like I said, we have provided this place for you because we're value management. We created this tool for you, but this is not where it has to live. If you want it to be somewhere else, then that's fine too. Just make sure everybody on your project team knows so they can, add the updates. There are a few more additional resources I want to cover a little bit, just really quickly. There is a tab in the RAW that lists risk examples, and this can just help you start the discussion with your teams. They're not listed, in the if-then statements or anything. They're just basic examples of things that may occur on a project to get you started with those discussions, to get you thinking. In addition to the RAW, there is a risk management guide and a risk management flowchart. Those are on our they're on our risk assessment program page and value management website. There's a QR code. You can also come to our table and get some information there and see that site there. And we will also, and just to let you know, Chris mentioned we're going to upload, the presentation to the websites and everything. We'll put this one, because it is so heavily risk focused, we'll put at least our portion, sorry, Stephen, we'll put this risk portion on our risk management website as well. So you have access to these slides as you're going through. Additionally, we have a risk playbook that's being developed through a research project with NC State. The risk playbook contains common risk categorized by discipline and mitigation strategies. It is an additional tool for the teams. The playbook will be going out for review soon to project managers and if you're interested as a project manager, you want to review this playbook to provide some feedback, and then other disciplines, I would love for you to, because we just want to, again, provide a tool for you to start the discussions with identifying risk. Additionally, we have decided to add our constructability review checklist to the RAW. So again, Ronnie mentioned in his presentation, constructability reviews are going to be a big focus for this year. Our office also manages the constructability review program. As part of IPD, we have developed a constructability review checklist. This, again, is just a tool to assist you in reviewing any constructability issues that you think could be possible or potentially on your project. What we have come to identify, and the reason we're grouping it with our risk, is that some of our risk that are identified on the risk assessment worksheet can be mitigated through having this discussion at a constructability review. Some of these constructability issues are, in fact, risks. So, they really do go hand in hand, and so we wanted to bring this in. What you see on the screen is what it is now on our constructability review page. We will be updating that, and obviously we'd really love to maybe make it automated, so as you're checking it, it would show up on the RAW, but we're going to work on that. Probably not me. Another thing that is underdeveloped, so this is just, it's underdeveloped, but it's something we hope is coming quickly, would be bringing RAW into Atlas. It would be cloud-based. It would be accessible from the project site on the Atlas workbench. It would also be available to external partners. External agencies would be able to get to this risk assessment worksheet through Atlas from the workbench of your project site. And so the hope is it would look very similar to what the RAW looks like now, but you'd be able to go in there and make those changes. And again, it would be cloud-based instead of an Excel sheet that you have to kind of keep saving and uploading and all that. So now it's time for another question. How expired is the oldest spice in your kitchen? And I don't know if y'all have seen this commercial, but expired. I'll just go and tell you that. I got like a spice thing when I got married 10 years ago, and I think we just threw it away. Like, I don't know how long spices last, but we just threw it away like a year ago or something, because I was like, I'm pretty sure we're probably not supposed to use these anymore.
It looks like we're about to wrap that one up. Maybe let's see what we have here. Well, that's sort of what I thought. I guess I'm the last one up between you all and getting out to some refreshments. Well, actually, Chris is actually the very last one up. So we can go back to our slides now. What we want to do is, sort of ask the question, why is quality needed? We've heard all this stuff about scope, schedule, budget. Are you talking about quality too, seriously? I thought that basically, for the longest time, that just meant you tell us what you want us to do, DOT. You check the plans, and that's quality. But you've also heard a lot about that we want to get out of that business. You heard John Sullivan talking about at the federal level, that's exactly what they want to do. And sort of work on the higher things. So why is it necessary? First of all, it's a required best management practice. Quality management is a DOT best practice required on all design, bid, build projects throughout the pre-construction phase of project development. It ensures those plan sets, decision documents, reports, and engineering analysis meet project objectives, customer expectations, and manage risk effectively. Probably some things you've heard about already today. It ensures these same products are consistently reliable and meet applicable regulations and standards. Good quality management will avoid costly errors, rework, and schedule delays as well. And effective quality management ensures continuous process improvement at both the project and program level. So that's sort of a unique thought there, is that if we develop a good system, we can go back and actually improve our process along the way with a lot of good input. So quality management has been formalized in procedures, manuals, and checklists to be used for major project deliverables, and you've heard quite a bit about some of those already. And then, of course, ancillary products such as meeting minutes, agenda sketches, and other products with non-binding impacts can have an over-the-shoulder type review. And so, again, I think we've talked about this quite a bit today, but quality is a direct reflection of how well our customers' expectations are being met and the services and deliverables provided to them. Quality plans ensure more effective utility relocations and right-of-way purchases, a big driver of projects delays for sure. Another reason for developing a formalized quality management program is because we have to. If you look at this slide right here, and really, I'm not trying to say anything's to scale. In fact, there's really no scale, but it's sort of emphasizing a point that more projects are being produced by more consultants in the new project delivery model. And my staff has certainly heard me say this quite a bit, but we're getting out of the plan checking business at DOT. And which by doing so, we're giving that function, that quality function, to the consultants, the ones actually doing the work. And that will allow us at DOT to focus our efforts on quality control at the program level. And then quality assurance will reside with DOT as always, as it has in the past and will in the future, by ensuring an appropriate level of quality control is being done for the projects being delivered. Let me say another thing. This obviously represents a shift. With this shift also comes a shift in expectations. Sort of gone are those days where we just tell you what to do. And again, I know I've been here long enough I can say that. But, we are shifting away from that. So with that, DOT needs to articulate these expectations as they relate to regulations, design criteria, and regional differences. There are regional differences sometimes, and that is appropriate. And then the engineering professionals will be expected to follow these expectations and deliver quality plans. So you heard John Sullivan earlier talk about the risk-based approach. This is that model that we want to follow. And we want to ensure that we're obviously following federal and state regulations. So this is an interesting slide. I think that word accountability, I like that word assume. You could put that word assume there. But the foundation of quality management are based on 3 core principles. And of course, we had to come up with a neat acronym. And Katrina and I kicked this one around. Well, is it TAC? Is it CAT? Oh, it's ACT. And so that was really neat because this is actually actionable. It's not stagnant. Quality is continuous throughout the life of a project. So holding oneself and each other accountable for delivering quality products and meeting the expectation within a project is certainly part of this foundation. Communication. You've heard a lot about that here today, and I would dare say that is, I echo those comments precisely. It's crucial throughout the project, and a lot of that really comes down to breaking down the silos that we maybe have established, and we certainly don't want to reestablish some of those silos moving forward. And then teamwork. This is department staff, PEFs, agency partners, all of us form a team. So working together as a team to be successful is a primary goal of quality management. I will say another thing too, and talk about this a lot: strengthen those relationships and develop common understandings of project delivery. A lot of it is built on those relationships and trust, for sure. So communication. This is sort of an interesting slide. You know, when I talk about then, this is not exactly the way it looked when I started, but it might not be too far off. I think probably a couple of hydro retreats look that way. But, you know, communication comes in many forms, and I would dare say we have plenty of gadgets out there these days to communicate. The question would be, are they being used effectively? Sometimes a simple fireside chat gets the message across much better than an email. And, you know, make sure the communication is effective. Now, I will say it looks like some pretty good storytelling going on around the fire in this example. And I guarantee you everybody's literally on the same page and understands very clearly what's going on there. I'm not so sure about the one in the bottom, but I think this sort of brings home that point. You know, a lot of times we talk about being technically correct. Communication comes in many forms. You know, when we talk about that word, but, you know, this one here is, you know, it almost speaks by itself. I followed the plan. I followed the specification. The inspector said it was done perfectly. It's just in the wrong location. So, you know, technically correct and accurate can still be wrong. At a minimum, I doubt this pole meets the customer's expectations. So are we using the correct standards? Is there a provision that was missed? You know, perhaps the provision that mentioned to locate poles outside of driveways. That might be a good one to go back and check out. So accountability is responsibility of everyone. I don't know, maybe somebody will like this. Maybe you get a better deal on this particular house. I'm not sure. But, you know, here we go with teamwork again. And, you know, when I look at this slide, sort of what comes to mind, and if you can see here, you have a lot of team members, and they all have blindfolds on, and everybody's trying to guess what's actually in front of them. There's no I in team. Communication across all team members essentially is essential, and a team needs to step back and realize no one person has all the answers. You know, this is not the project manager to tell us this is the elephant. You know, I think if the team stepped back holistically, took off their blindfolds, they would actually understand this really is an elephant, and it really does take all of us. This slide, I think, hopefully tells a little bit of the story. You've heard a little bit of it here today, but DOT is being very intentional about quality management. We are unifying checklists, standards, and manuals and establishing a well-organized process under a common project manager. We're moving away from prescriptive standards to performance-based standards, and preference should be replaced with logic. So I hope that this means something, and we want to be intentional about it, and we look to all of you as team members to help us get there. We talked about a lot of resources, and a lot of those resources are coming soon. Here's one of them that's coming soon. It may be version 2000 or whatever before we actually release it. But we've been working very hard and very intentionally on this quality management manual. The purpose of the quality management manual is to provide guidance and direction for delivering high-quality projects and to provide consistent, reliable products and services to our customers. Remember, DOT is getting out of the quality control business at the project level to focus on higher-level transportation needs. So what this means, and you'll see as we move into this, there's QA/QC checklists that we're developing. There's multiple pages of those, but it is very deliberate. And so we're looking to our industry partners to be responsible for performing the quality control to verify the accuracy, assumptions, and reasonableness. And then, of course, DOT or our designee will perform the QA review. This is a high-level review to assure expectations are met. This is not a QC function. So I just want to repeat that. We're deliberately trying to get out of those preferential plan checking comments. Just want to repeat that. The other part of that, which is very, very critical, those review comments are to be founded in guiding documents, and preferential comments are to be avoided unless directed by the division engineer. Now, I know some people have sort of hung up on that one a little bit. The division engineer can actually have a preferential comment perhaps, but the division engineer is the sole person that has to answer a lot of questions, or really tough questions, at the closest place to where those questions need to be answered. Isn't that right, Wanda? So that's why she's up here with us. We also have some tools that we've already developed. So in addition to the soon-to-be released Quality Management Manual, here's some of the tools we've already developed. So these tools are part of a really well-organized, performance-based approach to quality management that was mentioned earlier. QC, QA checklists that are on here, standard scopes of services that a lot of you had asked about are being developed. And we just want to make sure we're speaking the same language and setting the same appropriate standards and expectations for project delivery. So hopefully these tools show how important quality management is to NCDOT, and to ensure you are aware of the most up-to-date tools. Be sure to subscribe to the IPD newsletter on NCDOT Connect project page. I think many of you probably have already done that. You can go and you get some of the most up-to-date information about IPD and all of these tools that have come along in the meantime. But if you haven't, please go to NCDOT Connect project page and look up those newsletters and subscribe to the latest ones. Another thing that's been talked about a little bit, or quite a bit, honestly, are these tools are scalable. So, the question becomes, what type of tool do you need? If you're going out for the day in a kayak, do you even need an anchor? Might be the first question. And then if you're in a John boat or ski boat, do you need the battleship anchor over there on the right? So they're certainly scalable, and you should be intentional about thinking about how scalable these tools are. So, speaking of preference, what's the preference? The preference is quality, and I think this slide is sort of interesting if you think about it. Let's just say maybe the task was to develop a four-wheel vehicle that is good around town. Well, maybe two of these fit the bill. Okay, but then you add into another piece of the scope. Well, what about cost? Well, it might be pretty cool to go to the grocery store in a Humvee. I think I would reserve the Lamborghini for tailgating, honestly, since it is red and not Clemson orange. But anyway, the point here is sometimes preferences can be mistaken for quality. And we just need to make sure that we understand that. So just remember to act. This is a slide that, and I want to thank Katrina, too, for helping so much with my slides and everybody else's, but in particular, one that you saw Matt put up earlier. Every member of the team is accountable to each other and themselves. Don't wait until the project is full sail to mention that there's rough waters ahead. And then every member of the team is responsible for effective communication. This crew didn't get the memo, apparently, that there's going to be a shift change that would occur under full sail in rough waters. That's probably not something to send a memo out, that, hey, captain's away and we're going into rough water and we're under full sail. And then, of course, the best teams chart the course before sailing the course. They don't panic when trouble comes along. They quickly grab the helm, adjust the sail, and get on with the journey. So with that, I'm going to give it back to Chris to give us some closing thoughts and some closing remarks.
So I added my talking points to remind you of the importance of risk management and quality control. But as I sat here, I'd like to think you all get the gist. We focused multiple sessions on scope, schedule, budget, quality, risk, project management, the importance of a team. I'd like to think you don't need to have me highlight it once again. So I'm going to skip that, but what I want you to see is we're trying to change the culture in pre-construction of how we work, what we do, why we do it, how to increase knowledge and education across our industry statewide, internal, external, everybody. We're all one, and that's the approach we're taking. So if things don't make sense or you have questions, we need to hear about it because we're trying to do what we think is best for all of us. And we know it's not 100% perfect, and we know there's going to be questions. So we're going to need your assistance in helping us to understand how we can support all of you all who are the ones that are actually delivering the project, that's delivering the department's program, that's delivering these projects to our motorists, our communities. So help us change the culture. Culture change is huge. It's tough, it's challenging, and it's going to take all of us. Okay? I want to thank you all for coming. Day one. It feels like it's been a whole day, even though it's only been a half a day. I might be low on oxygen here. Just as a reminder, we do have a networking event tonight from 5 to 7 p.m. where we hope that you will continue to network and catch up and have thought-provoking conversations. It's not a beer. That's some internal ribbon because they had a different picture up that had it's beer time. You all are awesome. These guys have been great to work with, by the way. I'd like to thank our sponsors. Thank you, Eugene. I want to thank KCI Associates. Thank you very much. VHB, Weatherall, HDR, Ramey Kemp, and ACEC for sponsoring tonight's reception. We couldn't do this without you all. I'd like to also take a moment, if you would, and thank all of our speakers today because they put an enormous amount in to be the mouthpieces for what so many people in our industry and our staff have been working on for so long. So please help me. I'd also like to personally thank Terry Canales. Would you please stand up? And I would like to thank Katrina Feltus. Katrina. There are so many people that have been behind trying to make this pre-construction workshop as meaningful and valuable to you all as best as we could. And these two ladies have done a yeoman's work in trying to make sure that this is a positive experience for you. And I always say, I want Division 14 to be driving home tomorrow evening saying, that was worth my 8 hours.
Yeah, sure.
The culture is continuous. The culture change is continuous. When I say we can't fix it if we don't know what's broke, we need you to tell us. You got a couple email notifications here, Wanda. We need that back and forth dialogue. I want our industry and our DOT staff to work as a team. And I mean that, and we mean that, and we hope that you will take us seriously on it. I told you at the beginning this was a workshop. You all know what I'm talking about now? So I don't know if you all drink coffee. Matt, you might have to hit 2 Diet Mountain Dews tomorrow. Everybody else, 2 espresso shots. We got a huge agenda tomorrow where we're going to continue to dive deeper and deeper into things that will hopefully assist us all in improving program delivery for the department. Can I get an amen? No, just kidding. There you go. As a reminder, PDHs, pick up your PDHs on the way out the door. We'll see you over at the vendors for the networking. Thank you all so much.